Hey, it's me, the Afro Hamurai, and if you didn't know, I code. So I was on a placement for around 5 months or so, which is why I've been gone for a while, and in that placement I had to use a lot of my coding skills, which included using languages I already knew and kind of picking up a few new languages here and there. And when I was looking for jobs during and after my placement, I saw that there were quite a few languages that I was familiar with and knew existed but didn't really use, and I thought, hey, why don't I just find a way to try and learn about those? And that was back in August, and I had a discount for Codecademy. It was 50% off, so I thought, hey, I'm gonna try it out. And then I thought, might as well review it. Now, I thought Codecademy was called Codecademy, and I thought that made way more sense. Codecademy just kind of sounds a bit weird to say. I don't know. I'm not a branding expert, so I have no idea. I'm called the Afro Hamurai, innit? So, what do I know, right? And here I am, 3 months later, and now we get to see about what I think about Codecademy. But before we go into what it's like to use and what my thoughts are, what is Codecademy? So Codecademy is an online platform for learning to code, but interactively, and it's set up with lessons, and then those lessons are put into modules, and you kind of have little exercises in there, and you're meant to use your web browser to code. So it's meant to be kind of teaching you how to code by doing rather than showing you all of the theory behind it first. There's 3 different tiers. There's the free Codecademy, and then there's Pro and Pro Lite. What's good is that Pro and Pro Lite still give you access to the same courses. Pro just gives you a few more where you can go into specific careers and interview prep, whereas Pro Lite is more for learning languages, and then you kind of do that career stuff on your own or find some buddies that could help you. Codecademy's goal, both through their adverts and also through when you're using their courses, is eventually to get you to a point where you're comfortable with languages enough that you could use them to score yourself a job or to perform better in your current job. But before we talk about how well it does that, let's go into how it works a bit further. What's great about Codecademy is that you don't need to have any separate software, right? So normally to do any sort of development, you'll need either an IDE, which is an integrated development environment, or at minimum, a code editor or a text editor that highlights your code for you. Some of which you can find for free, but then others are paid for. Codecademy just does it through the web browser, which is good. It means that you can do it on your computer, but also on your tablet and on your phone, technically. Although doing it on your phone might be a bit difficult because, small keyboard, right? You kind of want to have a nice, good keyboard to use if you're going to be doing some coding. The structure of their bigger courses tend to go through modules that go through a specific aspect of your language. So I'm going through Learn Java, which is one of the free ones at the moment, and in part of that they go through what is a variable, how do you use them, how do you use conditional logic, all of those sorts of things. They tend to group them into big blocks and then have lessons within them that take you through that to get you to understand it. So there's 2 main sets of courses. There's the free courses and then there's the pro courses. And the free courses, at least from the one I've tried with Learn Java, it's alright. Consider though that I'm already relatively comfortable writing code and with the ideas of variables and conditional logic, and the fact that they all at least exist, and that a lot more of what I would be looking for is less does it exist and more how do I do it in this language. I think that maybe because of that, this course maybe wasn't the best for me to get started with, at least not for its beginning modules. Later on, it did get quite tricky, but at the start it was things like how to print hello world, what a string was, what a boolean was, all of which is really important if you're completely new to code. But for someone who's already there and kind of just wanted to learn a specific language, I was a bit okay, fine. What's strange is that Codecademy has a course where it just goes into an introduction to coding generally, and I think that some of these ideas could have been introduced in that, and then this course could instead just be used to get started with the language and syntax of something like Java. But maybe they're just making sure that if someone doesn't go through that course and instead get started with learning a language straight away, that they still get a good foundational idea as to what coding is and what exists within languages. Now, what's weird about Codecademy and specifically this Learn Java course is that it doesn't really go into detail where I think it needed to, where it labors other points that I think it could reintroduce later on and kind of call back to a bit more. The course also felt very segmented, but not necessarily in a good way. So for example, with Java, you tend to work a lot with objects, so making something that has information in it. So if, for example, an object was a cake, you might say what flavor it is, how many tiers it has, whether it has icing or not, that sort of stuff. In Codecademy, it was like maybe 2 or 3 steps per exercise, and there were maybe 5 exercises, and then as you went to the next bit, it never touched on that again. It kind of assumed that you'd finished learning about it and therefore knew it perfectly at the end, and then just went on to the next bit, rather than kind of integrating what is quite a solid part of the language and figuring out ways to give you more callbacks and to reteach you just to check to make sure that you understand it. A solution with that would be to have, pen and paper and make some notes about stuff as you go along and to kind of know what to make notes of. But if you're a beginner, you might genuinely not understand that objects are quite important. You might not be able to go, oh, this is something I should really make notes of and understand. The other solution is, of course, to go back and then to have to go forward again. But that's kind of still annoying because to go back, you have to undo all of your work, reset everything, and then go through it again. It doesn't automatically reset you if you go back. It keeps all your work as if you just wanted to look at your work and bask in its glory rather than learn something from it. With this free course, at least, I don't think it does a great job of preparing you for coding outside of the website. It gives you relatively general examples in this, like making a calculator or making a robot, but it doesn't necessarily give you more examples that would be akin to what you'd get in real life using this language in your career. Although, that's because they put it behind their Pro and Pro Lite plans, which makes sense because, servers need to get paid for and people need to eat. We'll come back to whether I think Codecademy prepares you for a job, but remember when I said that a solution was to make notes? Another solution is exclusive, kind of, to Pro and Pro Lite, and that's the Codecademy Go app. So Codecademy Go on your phone is essentially flashcards and also quick little quizzes to make sure that everything's all good. And what's specifically good about Codecademy Go is that it kind of works as a way to link you back to the other parts of the course. The Codecademy Go mobile app is available if you are on a free or a paid subscription. The difference is that free limits the amount of times that you can use it and limits the languages that you have, whereas if you're on Pro Lite or Pro, you basically have the entire app. So that's almost an entire reason to get Pro, at least in my opinion. Pro and Pro Lite will give you full use of the Codecademy Pro app, better courses with better examples, which is most probably where I need to look for my next Java course. Pro gives you specific access to career-based tracks, so like career courses, like learning tracks to get you ready for a career, having multiple curated languages so that you don't have to worry about which ones might make the most sense. Pro costs about £200 a year here in the UK. Pro Lite is about £160 a year outside of any sort of cyber sales or anything that they do. I jumped into Pro mainly because I had my discount code and I got it like 50% off, but I think even now I still would at least consider Pro Lite because there is a lot available on that site and it's really interactive and gives me a way to code even when I'm not near my computer. If you've never been in interviews or you've never really had or had exposure to a career in software or coding generally, then Pro makes a bit more sense because it can help you to almost re-specialize and reteach yourself some new tools. Pro Lite makes more sense if you already have that sort of background and you just want to go a bit further into coding. Both of them give you the Codecademy app, so either way they still work quite well. If you're not sure, just go in for free and just see how it is, right? But would you finish a course and be prepared? Not on free. If you're not paying anything, not really. And I kind of understand why. Imagine if you could get completely free coding experience that would take you from zero to being able to get a career completely for free. You could do that with things like W3 Schools or some of the online documentation on lots of different languages, but a lot of that involves really having quite a bit of determination and likely still having some background reading. What Codecademy does is streamline that, especially in the Pro and Pro Lite version, so that you really can come in and get most of the knowledge that you would need, so then that way you're either able to go into a job or get started with your own sort of passion projects and just fill in those gaps with a little bit of actual experience, right? I already had a background in tech, so Pro Lite might have been enough for me, and when I look to renew, unless there's some sort of huge deal or I find something incredible that's within the career segments of Pro, I think I'm going to end up downgrading to Pro Lite so that I can still have access to all of the languages and the app, but without spending money on stuff that I don't really feel like I need at the moment. But those are my opinions on Codecademy. I mean, tell me in the comments down below. I'm sure that you may have seen some of the adverts for it. If you have you been tempted? Tell me what you think. I have a comment section. I have a like and a dislike button. Feel free to use either one. I have a subscribe button. You can click it. It turns gray, I think, or some other color. I don't know. Subscribe if you want to. Yeah. Cool.